you lie still. The room around you is hushed, wrapped in the soft darkness that comes just before sleep. Your eyes are closed, or nearly so, and yet you sense it, something ticking, somewhere. Not a loud clock on the wall, but something quieter, something older. A rhythm, deep and regular, pulsing just beneath your skin. It is your heartbeat. Lub-dub. Lub-dub. That gentle rhythm has never stopped, not once, since the moment you first became yourself. Before you ever opened your eyes, before you had a name, your heart was already keeping time. It doesn't ask questions. It just moves, steady and faithful, like a metronome inside you. You might think of time as something outside, something marked by calendars and clocks, something that lives on phones or wrists or in appointments and alarms. But that's not where time begins. Time begins in your body, in you. Your breath rises and falls, a slow tide. Your eyes blink in patterns without you noticing. Your stomach grumbles, your muscles stretch, your thoughts drift in cycles. You are full of clocks, not mechanical ones, but biological ones. Hidden timekeepers working quietly inside your cells. Your body follows rhythms that stretch far beyond the moment. Some are short, the beat of your heart, the cycle of breath. Some are long, the rising and setting of the sun, your energy shifting. With light and dark, the gentle push and pull of sleep and wake. These longer rhythms, called circadian rhythms, guide almost every system in your body, from hormones to temperature to mood. You may not feel them directly, but you live by them. You always have. Imagine a tiny orchestra inside you. Each instrument plays a slightly different rhythm. One drum beats out your pulse. Another hums with the pattern of hunger and digestion. A stringed instrument keeps the slow tempo of your sleep-wake cycle. There's even a conductor, a small region in your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, just behind your eyes. It listens to light. When morning light hits your eyes, the conductor stirs the orchestra, nudging it into motion. The day begins, even if you lived underground, with no sunlight at all. Your inner time would still try to keep a rough 24-hour rhythm. You are, in a way, made of time, shaped by it, tuned to it. But there's more. Close your eyes again. Feel your breath. 1, 2, 3. Each second passes in silence, but your mind hears it. It's not just your body that senses time. Your brain does too. It watches for change. And change is how time becomes real to you. A leaf drifting, a word spoken, a look shared. Time, for your brain, is a difference between before and after. It tracks what moves, what shifts, what ends. It builds an invisible line, not one you can touch, but one you can feel. And yet, your experience of time is not always even. You know this. A minute waiting in boredom can feel like an hour. A joyful hour can pass in a breath. Time bends, not in the universe, not yet, anyway, but in your perception. This is because your brain doesn't measure time like a stopwatch. It feels time through attention. The more you notice, the longer time feels. A single moment, if rich with detail, the flicker of a candle, the warmth of a voice, the turning of a page, can expand. But when the world repeats itself, when nothing new is noticed, time contracts. Your brain saves energy by not paying attention. That's why childhood seemed so long. Everything was new. Everything was noticed. Your brain was wide open, and time spilled in. Now, as you lie still in the dark, you are returning to that quiet openness, your breath, again, your heartbeat. These rhythms you've carried your whole life, they are not rushing anywhere. They are just being. And in this stillness, time begins to soften. Time, as we often define it, is measured change, a before and an after. But in the stillness, in the now, something strange happens. There's no before to compare, no after to anticipate. Just this moment. Just now. What is time when nothing is happening? Even physicists, those great measurers of everything, struggle with this. Some say time is fundamental, woven into the universe, like space. Others believe time is just a useful trick, an illusion that appears when things move, when entropy increases, when we watch a glass fall and shatter but never reform. But you don't need a laboratory to feel the mystery. You just need silence. You just need to lie still and listen. You listen to your body, and it speaks in time. Each breath is a phrase, each blink a note. Somewhere, perhaps in another room, a real clock ticks, a metronome of the world outside. But here, where your body rests and your thoughts begin to drift, another kind of time is unfolding. It has no numbers, no deadlines, no end. You might feel it in the heaviness of your limbs, the warmth settling over you, the way your thoughts slow, stretching like shadows across the floor of your mind. You're not falling asleep just yet, but something is loosening. The grip of the outer world, with all its demands and measurements, is starting to let go. You're stepping gently into your own time. Here, time feels less like a line and more like a pool, something you can float in, something that holds you, not pushes you. And as you drift on this quiet tide, a question begins to rise, not sharp, but soft. A question as old as language itself. If time feels this close inside you, why does it always seem to slip away? Perhaps memory holds the answer. Perhaps the past is not gone at all, only waiting quietly, just behind the mirror. You stand in front of a mirror. The room is quiet, your breath soft, and there in the reflection, you meet not just the present, but everything that came before. A wrinkle formed by years of laughter, a freckle from a summer too long ago to name, eyes that have watched seasons pass, words spoken, doors closed, and dreams unfold. You look at yourself and you see time not as a clock, but as a story. The past isn't far. It isn't even past. It lives in you, through you, as you, and your brain quietly holds it all. Inside your skull, folded like a labyrinth, rests the organ that remembers, not as a recorder, not perfectly, but as a weaver. Your memories aren't saved like files on a shelf. They are scattered across neurons, networks of flickering connections, a pattern of activity that reawakens when you call on it. Memory in your mind is not just stored, it's recreated. Each time you remember, you rebuild, like a painter returning to a canvas. You dip your brush into the past, and with each stroke, the image changes slightly. This is why memories fade. This is why they shift. They are not fixed. They are alive. You remember moments not as they were, but as they felt, shaped by emotion, meaning, attention. Your brain, ever resourceful, saves what matters most. The smell of your grandmother's kitchen, the way your hands trembled before speaking, the hush of snow falling when the world was still. Your memories are your own form of time travel, and like any good traveler, you don't go in straight lines. One memory sparks another. A song opens a door. A scent takes you back. In a moment, you're no longer in your room. You're in a hallway at school, or standing under the stars, or laughing beside someone who is no longer here. The brain's time machine is hidden in a region called the hippocampus. It curls deep inside, like a seahorse made of neurons. Here, patterns of experience are stitched into sequences, not just what happened, but when. It gives your memories order. It builds your sense of before and after. And without it, time in the mind begins to fall apart. There are people who live without the ability to form new memories. They live always in the present, surrounded by moments that never settle into place. They can still feel, still laugh, still speak, but time, for them, is a flickering light, never landing long enough to cast a shadow. So much of who you are, your sense of self, depends on memory. It's how you know where you've been. It's how you guess where you're going. But memories don't exist alone. They are stitched together into a story. Your brain is not just a collector of moments. It's a storyteller, too. It fills in blanks. It smooths the edges. It finds cause and effect. Even when your memories are fragmented, your mind reaches to connect them. This is what gives your life shape, a through line, a sense of you. What you remember becomes who you believe yourself to be. And yet, your past is not fixed. It is revised, reinterpreted, reframed, not through fault, but through growth. That moment of failure, once filled with shame, might now be seen as a turning point. That lost opportunity becomes the start of something else. Time flows backward in your reflection, and as it does, it changes color. Even your earliest memories are not truly yours. They are stories told to you, repeated, absorbed, family photographs, childhood tales, fragments gathered from others. Your brain takes those pieces and fills in the blanks. It weaves the illusion that you remember being 3, when in truth, what you remember is the story of being 3. This isn't deceit. It's art. And still, there are things you forget, names, dates, details that slip through the cracks. This forgetting is not failure either. Your brain forgets so it can remember what matters more. It sheds to make room. It distills to find. Meaning, if you could remember every moment of your life with perfect clarity, the world would become too loud, too dense. You would drown in detail, so you forget. And in forgetting, you breathe. But sometimes the past returns without your asking. A sudden flood. A vivid memory that appears without invitation. This is not uncommon. It is your brain reactivating a pattern, a memory ignited by some subtle cue, a color, a word, a feeling. Sometimes it's sweet, sometimes sharp, sometimes both. You sit quietly, and your mind drifts backward, not in a straight line, but like a leaf falling through air. You land in a memory, perhaps of a voice, a place, a younger version of yourself. You can't quite touch it, but it touches you. Time in the mirror is like that. You see yourself now, but also then. The then never fully disappears. It echoes, and yet you are not your past. You are the one who remembers. You are the quiet observer, looking back, holding these moments like pebbles in your palm, small, worn, smooth by time, but still weighty. And if your memories are the story of your life, who then is the author? perhaps it is something deeper, something watching, something listening. The past lives in the folds of your brain, but it also lives in your emotions, in your instincts, in the quiet ways you move through the world. It whispers to you in choices, in fears, in hopes. Memory is not just remembering. Like ripples returning to their source, you close your eyes. You see not the mirror, but the moments behind it. You wonder, not urgently, but gently, where they go when you aren't looking. Are they stored? Are they drifting? Are they waiting? And then another thought emerges, quiet as breath. If the past is something you can visit, why does it always move forward when you stop to watch? Perhaps time doesn't flow like a river. Perhaps it builds like a wave, and you are standing on its crest. And perhaps the next mystery lies not in remembering. You've never felt it drift backward, even for a second. Milk spills, but never leaps back into the cup. A leaf falls, and no wind lifts it back to the branch. You've lived this truth every day, yet still, you wonder why. Why does time have a direction at all? You lie quietly, breathing slowly, as if waiting to feel the river of time beneath you. Not just a metaphor, not just a story, but something real, something flowing. This is where physics meets feeling. Scientists call it the arrow of time. The idea that time has a direction, like a drawn bowstring pointing forward. It's not just your memory, not just clocks ticking. It's built into the way nature works, and at the center of it is a strange, beautiful idea: entropy. Entropy is not a word made for lullabies, but let's make it one. Imagine a sandcastle, delicate, sculpted, standing tall by the sea, every grain carefully placed. Now imagine a wave coming in, not a violent one, just the soft sigh of the tide. The castle crumbles, the grains spread. In a few minutes, it's gone. The sand is still there. The particles haven't vanished. There are many more messy arrangements than neat ones. A broken glass can be in 1,000 chaotic pieces, but an unbroken glass, that's just one tidy possibility. And nature, over time, tends toward the many, toward the scattered, the mixed, the unmade. That's the arrow. That's why the castle falls, but never builds itself again. Why smoke curls away from the fire, but never returns to the flame. Why the past feels fixed, and the future unknown. Entropy increases. That is the rule, not because nature is lazy, but because it's playing the odds, and disorder is the most likely outcome. You live inside this slow blooming of sciences. You see it everywhere, in dust gathering, in bodies aging, in ice melting into water. Entropy is not destruction. It's just change that favors complexity over structure, randomness over arrangement. But here's something gentle to remember. In that mess, life happens. Entropy creates the canvas where life can unfold. Think of a baby learning to speak. Each word they try is imperfect, but the imperfections are how they grow. The stumbles, the pauses, their prot is the shaping. Learning is messy. Growth is messy. Entropy gives space for surprise. So yes, things fall apart. But in falling apart, new things come together. Stars explode in supernovas, scattering their insides across space. From that chaos, planets form. From that dust, life begins. And you are made of that dust. Carbon, iron, calcium, all forged in ancient stellar heat. So the arrow of time, this forward flow of change, is not your enemy. It's your midwife. Still, you might ask, if the laws of physics don't forbid time from going backward, why doesn't it? On the smallest scale, the equations that describe particles, electrons, photons, tiny ripples of existence, don't care about direction. They work just as well forward as backward. A particle doesn't prefer the future, but when billions of particles come together in teacups, in clouds, in living cells, patterns emerge. And in those patterns, the arrow appears. It's like watching a single bird versus watching a whole flock. One bird flutters, a flock flows. Your life is a flock, a pattern, a system. And in that system, time only ever seems to go one way. Even your mind feels this. You remember the past, but you do not remember the future. Why? Because memory itself is tied to entropy. To form a memory, your brain must do work. It must change. That change leaves a mark in the present, a trace of the past. But the future hasn't happened yet. No trace can exist. And so, you remember only what's behind you. The arrow isn't just in clocks. It's in your cells, in your bones, in the way your breath warms the air and never cools it back again. You live at the edge of order and chaos, balanced there like a leaf floating downstream. And maybe that's why time feels fast when you're rushing, slow when you're waiting. Because your mind is swimming with the river or struggling against it. Stillness, like now, as you rest, lets you drift, not backward, not forward, just gently along. Entropy increases, the universe expands, stars burn out, and yet, in this wide and wild river, something astonishing happens. You create meaning. Meaning is not bound by entropy. It rises from it. Your memories, though imperfect, shape your sense of story. Your breath, though brief, sustains you. Your presence, though fleeting, is deeply felt. You are not a stone resisting the current. You are water within it. You've never seen an egg uncrack, never watched smoke return to the candle, never heard a bell unring. These are signs, quiet and constant, that time moves forward. But forward doesn't mean away. It means becoming. Time unfolds not like a straight line, but like petals opening, revealing what was hidden, changing you in every moment. Even in stillness, you are changing. Cells divide, neurons fire, thoughts drift across your mind like clouds. You don't notice most of it, but your body, your brain, your very self, they follow the river, and the river has no reverse. But here's something soft to hold as you float. The arrow of time may point forward, but what you carry, love, memory, wonder, points in all directions. And so you lie there, quietly held by entropy's embrace. You don't need to resist it. You are part of it. You are it still. Something lingers in your thoughts like a ripple. If time flows like a river, smooth and forward, what lies beneath its surface? Is it always one stream? Or are there other times, layered, hidden, waiting to be felt? Perhaps there are places, strange, quiet places, where time stretches, slows. Darkness, not empty, but full of stories, too slow for daytime ears. Stories that move not in words, but in orbits, pulses, and light. The universe keeps time, not with ticking hands or mechanical gears, but with rhythms that have never stopped, not once, not since the beginning. Time, here, is celestial. It begins with Earth, your home, your anchor. It spins slowly, gently, once every 24 hours. That spin gives you day and night, a rhythm your body has known since before memory. The sun rises, the sun sets. This is the first clock you ever knew. But the earth does more than spin. It dances, too, around the sun, one full circle every 365 days. Each orbit marks a year. Each year, another ring in the invisible tree trunk of your life. These are the rhythms you live inside. Circadian rhythms, body clocks, tuned to the cycles of light and dark. Melatonin rises with dusk, and your body sighs into sleep. These cycles are not just measured by time. They are time for you, for all living things. And yet, if you float your mind beyond Earth, even just in thought, you begin to feel something else. A time that is vast, layered, and slow beyond measure. Look up. Those stars you see, many are suns, some hundreds or thousands of light years away. The light from them left long before your birth, before your grandparents were children. Some of it left before humans ever spoke, ever dreamed, ever looked upward and asked, "What is that?" Starlight is old. It travels fast, the fastest thing we know, yet space is wide, and so light takes its time. A light year is distance, yes, but it's also time. It's how far light travels in a year. And when you gaze at the stars, you're not seeing now. You're seeing then. You look into the past every night. This is the first whisper of cosmic time. It's not the same everywhere. Others, like galaxies, take millions of years just to turn once. Imagine that. A single rotation of a spiral galaxy, a swirl of stars, dust, and dark matter, can take 200 million years. One galactic day lasts longer than all of human history. These slow movements, barely measurable from Earth, are the markings on the cosmic clock. Astronomers read these markings the way you read tree rings or the folds of your hand. Each pattern, each wobble or flicker of light tells a story of age, of motion, of deep and patient time. There's a star called Betelgeuse, a red giant, swollen with age, nearing the end of its life. One day it will explode into a supernova, a brilliant burst of light that could outshine its entire galaxy. For weeks, but that day may have already come. It's just that the light hasn't reached us yet. So much of what we know about the universe is like hearing thunder long after the lightning has struck. Space teaches you this time does not arrive all at once. The farther you look, the deeper you see into the past, and in this way, telescopes become time machines. The Hubble Space Telescope has shown us galaxies as they were billions of years ago, long before the Earth existed. What you see is no longer what is. It is what was. Always time in the cosmos is not separate from space. They are woven together, space-time, a single fabric, curved and stretched by mass and energy. Einstein showed us this. Heavy objects like stars and planets bend this fabric, and as light travels through it, time itself bends. Near a massive body, time slows. Far from it, time flows faster. This isn't imagination, it's measurable. A clock aboard a GPS satellite ticks differently from a clock on Earth. Without adjusting for that difference, your phone's navigation would drift, getting more wrong by the second. Time is not universal. It's personal, relative, and cosmic. Imagine a black hole, a place where gravity is so intense, not even light can escape. Get too close, and time itself slows for you. To someone watching from afar, you seem to freeze. To you, everything feels normal, just slower, like dreaming in slow motion. This is the edge of time as we know it. And yet, in this strangeness, there is structure. There is rhythm. There is a cosmic clock still ticking. Though its hands may be made of starlight, you are part of it. Your atoms came from stars, from nuclear furnaces that burned billions of years ago. The calcium in your teeth, the iron in your blood, they are cosmic relics. You are not just in the universe. You are the universe, watching itself. And though your time is measured in heartbeats and breaths, you are held in something older, vaster, deeper. You sleep to the turning of Earth. You dream beneath drifting galaxies. Your story is a verse in a song that has been playing since the first spark of time, and yet the universe didn't always have clocks. At the very beginning, there were no stars to spin, no planets to orbit, no day, no night. Just a hot, dense blur, an almost featureless soup of energy. Time began then, as space began in the Big Bang, not a bang at all, but a quiet blooming of being. And even then, time had no face, not yet. Only as things cooled, as particles found each other, as light could finally travel freely, only then did the first cosmic seconds become possible. And from those first seconds, all the clocks began. Clocks of decay, clocks of light, clocks of spin. Every moment since yours included has been part of that unfolding. So, as you drift to sleep tonight, remember, your body may follow Earth's small rhythm, but your being, your atoms hum to a much older time. The ticking of your heart is in harmony with the spin of galaxies. The rhythm of your breath echoes the pulsing of stars. You sleep beneath a sky that remembers everything, and still, you might ask, if time is written in the sky, could it ever be rewritten? Could we change our clocks, or move through time itself? You close your eyes, and the world loosens its grip. The weight of your body falls away like a coat slipping from your shoulders. A hush gathers, and in that hush, space bends softly. Here, in the half-light between waking and dreaming, something curious begins to unfold. Time, the quiet current you once thought steady, begins to stretch. It ripples like silk in slow water. It flexes, curls, leans, and you begin to wonder. What if time is not a ruler, but a ribbon? You float now, weightless and still, and beside you, a thought forms a young man on a bicycle, riding through the hills of Switzerland. His name is Albert. He is not yet the Einstein you know, not yet the icon with wild hair and eyes full of sky. He is simply thinking, pedaling into an idea. He wonders what it would be like to chase a beam of light. That question, so simple and so wild, becomes the seed of a revolution. Because what Albert begins to see in his mind, in his dream, is that time does not tick the same for everyone. You ride beside him now, your breath moving in rhythm with the wind. Ahead of you, a beam of light streaks outward. No matter how fast you pedal, it stays just ahead. Not slower, not faster, just steady, constant. And that constancy unlocks something strange. If the speed of light is always the same, then time, your time, must change to compensate. You begin to feel it as you move faster. Time slows down around you. Seconds stretch, like taffy pulled between gentle fingers. Clocks tick slower. Heartbeats lengthen. This is relativity, not just a theory, but a soft reshaping of everything you thought was fixed. You drift inside it now, not thinking, only feeling. Imagine this. You are on a spaceship, gliding through the stars at a speed near light itself. Inside the ship, time feels normal. You blink, you breathe. Outside, the universe rushes past like a blur of painted starlight. Back on Earth, years pass, decades, maybe centuries, but for you, only hours, maybe days. This is called time dilation, not science fiction, not metaphor. It has been measured, observed, confirmed. A tiny particle, called a moon, races through the sky at nearly light speed. It should decay, vanish, in microseconds. But because it's moving so fast, time stretches for it. It lives longer than it should. Because, from its point of view, time has slowed. Even astronauts, circling Earth in high-speed orbits, age just the tiniest bit slower. The difference is small, almost imperceptible, but it is there, and it matters. And now, gently, the scene shifts again. You are near a black hole, not falling in, not afraid, just near, floating, still. This place is quiet in a way that doesn't feel empty. It feels full, full of gravity, of weight you cannot see. A black hole is not a thing, but a region, a place where gravity is so strong, space itself curves inward. And time leans into that curve. The closer you drift toward it, the more time stretches. A clock in your hand ticks slowly. A clock far from the black hole ticks normally. To someone watching from a safe distance, you appear to freeze. Near the edge, the event horizon. They wait for you to fall in, but you never do. You remain suspended, slowed to a halt by time itself. But to you, nothing feels different. You float in silence. You breathe. The seconds feel the same. This, too, is relativity, not just speed, but gravity, bending time. Massive things pull, not just on space, but on the rhythm of moments. Heavy stars, massive planets, swirling galaxies, all of them sculpt the flow of time. So, you see, time is not absolute. It is local, personal, and what feels like 1 second to you may feel like a year to someone else, far away, or moving quickly, or deep in gravity's grip. Time is not a single drumbeat, marching onward for all. It is a symphony, a weaving of many rhythms, and here, in this slow orbit of thought, you begin to wonder, what is time, really? Is it just the measure of change, the way we notice difference? Is it the motion of planets, the beating of a heart? Is it the space between two notes in a lullaby? You've seen how time can stretch and bend. You've felt it slow, near speed and mass. But can it ever reverse? Can you unage? Can broken things become unbroken? Can the arrow of time point backward? Relativity doesn't forbid it. Not completely. The equations work just as well in reverse. But in practice, something holds us in place, something deeper, older, something like entropy. But that's for another night. Tonight, you stay in Einstein's dream a little longer. You see space not as a stage, but a fabric, a gentle net that cradles all motion, and time stitched into every thread. You see clocks slowing as they climb hills, satellites correcting their tick, not because they are broken, but because they live in a slightly different patch of curved spacetime. You understand now why GPS works only because we adjust for relativity. Why time is not fixed, but ever so gently bent by motion and mass. And with that understanding, you feel the world soften, because if time can stretch, if it can be experienced differently, depending on where and how you are, then perhaps your experience, your story, is not bound to a rigid path. Perhaps time is not a hallway, but a garden with many paths, some curved, some hidden, some revisited in memory, others still waiting to bloom as you drift deeper into sleep. The sound of clocks fades into starlight. You are neither moving fast nor slow. You are simply here, wherever that may be, in the river of time. And in this quiet moment, a final question tiptoes in. If time can stretch and bend and slow, might it one day stop altogether or begin again? There's a ticking, but it doesn't come from a wristwatch or a wall clock. It's too quiet for your ears, too small for your eyes. This ticking happens deep inside matter itself, not from gears or springs, but from atoms vibrating in place like tiny tuning forks of the universe. You lie still, the room is hushed, but beneath your calm breath, time hums at the scale of the invisible. Once, long ago, time was the shadow of a stick in the sand, a sundial catching the angle of the sun's passage. Simple, elegant. Came hourglasses and candles, water clocks and swinging pendulums, each a way to touch the river of time with tools shaped by human hands. But these were just echoes, soft guesses at a steady beat. Then we found atoms, and in their vibrations, their tiny, relentless pulses, we discovered a kind of ticking, so constant, so unwavering. It redefined our understanding of precision. You don't feel it, but right now, the most accurate clocks in the world, the ones that govern GPS, telecommunications, and the global rhythm of science, they are listening. 2 atoms. Imagine cesium, a soft, silvery metal you'll never hold in your palm. At the heart of each cesium atom, electrons orbit with exquisite order, and when those electrons flip from one energy level to another, they emit a tiny pulse, a whisper of light, a rhythmic flicker. That flicker is the clock. The cesium-133 atom vibrates exactly 9,192,631,770 times per second. And that number is not an estimate, it defines the second itself. You feel that number, not with your senses, but with your place in the world. Your phone syncing with satellites, your maps guiding you across cities, oceans, continents, all because we've built our lives around the rhythm of the atom. But even cesium, over time, began to show its limits. So we turned to other elements, strontium, ytterbium atoms, whose vibrations hum at even higher frequencies. Clocks that would drift by only 1 second every 15 billion years. So steady they could measure the tick of gravity itself, because gravity, remember, slows time. Atomic clocks on mountaintops tick faster than those at sea level. The difference is minute, imperceptible to you, but the atoms feel it. Time, it turns out, is not only relative, it is sensitive, local, delicate as dew. And so we've become keepers of time, not with sun and sand, but with electrons in cages of laser light. Cold atoms held in silence, ticking in darkness with perfect rhythm. You might wonder, why such precision? Why such devotion to slicing the second so finely? Because time governs everything, from your heartbeat to a rocket launch, from an internet signal to the decay of a star. To measure time well is to hold the pulse of the universe in your hands, or at least in the hands of instruments shaped by quiet minds and long patience. But here's the question that floats gently into the room. Is precision the same as truth? Because even now, with our perfect atomic clocks, we are not measuring time itself, only a pattern that repeats, vibrations, oscillations, movements we trust. We say, this is a second, because we have agreed to let the atom decide. But the second itself, what is it, really? Just a choice, a frame, a rhythm we fit our lives into. And in that agreement, there is something beautiful, a harmony between human thought and physical law. We chose the second, but the atom made it. Sacred dot. So, you lie back now and imagine the world as a great orchestra. Each clock, digital, atomic, celestial, playing its own note. Not perfectly in tune, but close enough to sound like one breath in and out. You think of your own heart, how it ticks, not with cesium's precision, but with warmth and irregularity. Sometimes fast, sometimes slow, always honest. The body does not keep perfect time, and yet it keeps your time. A rhythm not measured in billions of oscillations, but in memories, in footsteps, in dreams. Still, the atoms do their work. In deep labs and quiet satellites, they sing their perfect song, and because they do, your phone wakes you on time. Your plane lands where it should. Your voice travels across oceans without losing its way. So much of life, of connection, of motion, depends on listening to things we cannot see. Time is everywhere, but never quite where you look. It lives not just in atoms and equations, but in your rituals. Morning coffee, evening walks, the hush before sleep, and just as the ancients watched the shadows move across stone, we now watch atoms flicker under laser light, two ways of touching the same invisible river. Still, as you drift closer to sleep, you begin to wonder something deeper. If we can slice time into billionths of a second, can we ever find its beginning? Was there a first tick, a first vibration? A moment when the universe opened its eyes and the clocks began. Now it seems so small, this word, just 3 letters, a whisper on your lips, a breath held in between two thoughts, and yet now is everything. It is where you live. Not in the past you remember, not in the future you imagine, but here, in this sliver of presence, a space between before and after you settle deeper into your bed. The room is quiet. No one asks anything of you right now. You're not late, you're not early, you're not waiting, you're just here. But what is now, really? Can you hold it? Does it last for a second, a blink, a breath? You try to catch it, but as soon as you say now, it's already past. Like the moment a star appears in the night sky, you see it, and it's already gone. Your brain tries, always, to keep up, to piece together what just happened, to form a picture of the world that feels smooth, continuous. But reality arrives in flickers, tiny packages of perception sewn together into the story you call the present. Neuroscientists sometimes say your now lasts about 2 to 3 seconds, long enough to hear the end of a sentence, long enough for a single musical phrase, long enough to feel a kiss or notice a falling leaf. This span, this brief envelope of time, is called the specious present. It's not an instant, and it's not eternal. It's a stretch, like a hammock, gently swaying between memory and expectation. And in that hammock, your consciousness rocks, slow and warm. Everything you see, everything you hear and touch and feel has already happened just a fraction of a second ago. Light enters your eyes, sound reaches your ears, and then your brain interprets it, layers it with meaning, emotion, and memory. By the time you're aware, the moment has already moved on. But this delay doesn't disturb you. In fact, you never notice it because your mind is a gifted illusionist. It gives you the gift of seamless presence. You don't just receive the moment, you live it. Even now, as you lie still, your mind is assembling the softness of the pillow, the dim light behind your eyelids, the slow tide of breath in your chest. It makes the world feel immediate. It places you inside the flow of time, even as that flow is already past. You often wish to live in the moment, to be present, to be mindful. But being truly present isn't about doing more, it's about noticing more, resting more, allowing the river to carry you without trying to swim upstream. You think of time as something you chase, appointments, deadlines, clocks on the wall. But here, now, you do not chase, you simply drift. And in this drifting, you begin to realize the present is not a single point. It's not a dot on a line. It's a window, a soft, breathing window through which your life comes into view. Some animals live in different windows. For a hummingbird, a moment is shorter. It sees the flicker of each wing beat, perceives the world in faster frames. For a whale, slower. A long, sweeping moment stretches out across seconds. Their now is not your now. Time feels different to each life, each body, each brain. Even for you, time stretches and shrinks depending on what you feel. Joy makes the moment quick and light. Grief thickens it like honey. Waiting stretches it thin. Fear tightens it into sharp edges. But here, under the blanket of evening, you begin to feel time soften. It becomes thick like fog, gentle, cool, and silent. You remember a day from your childhood. Maybe it's not even a full memory, just a smell, a sound, a flicker of color. And suddenly, the present holds the past. The mind does this folding time inward like dough, letting you live in many layers at once. The now holds echoes. It holds what just passed and what you expect next. It is wider than you thought, so you breathe in and notice the rise of your chest. You breathe out and feel the heaviness of your limbs. This is a way to hold now gently, like a cup between your hands. When you focus attention on breath, or sound, or stillness, you stretch the moment. It expands, not in clock time, but in felt time. The present becomes a garden, and you walk through it slowly, noticing the textures of each leaf, the warmth of sun on your skin. It's not that time has stopped, but that you've stopped trying to outrun it. You let go. And when you do, you find something astonishing. The present, quiet and still, holds the entire universe. Right here now. And yet, even as you settle deeper into this moment, you begin to wonder about the future. Where does it come from? How does the unborn moment form itself? You drift toward the edge of now, where the next moment waits. Still unshaped, still silent. Time is not only around you, it is within you. It moves in your breath, in the slow turning of your cells, in the rhythm of sleep, the wave of hunger, the silent ticking of aging that begins before you even take your first breath. You lie still beneath the soft hush of night. But inside you, thousands of clocks are still turning. Tiny, invisible metronomes keeping you in time with the world and with yourself. One such rhythm, ancient and patient, is your circadian clock, from the Latin circa, meaning around, and diem, meaning day, around the day. A 24 hum that guides your body like the sun guides the sky. This clock lives deep inside you, tucked in the base of your brain, in a place called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, a name to long for sleep. So just think of it as your master clock. It sits quietly behind your eyes, watching light and darkness, telling the rest of your body what time it is. When morning light touches your eyelids, this clock whispers, "Wake, warm, rise." It tells your cells to produce cortisol, a hormone that energizes, awakens. It sharpens your attention, prepares you for the day, and as darkness returns, your master clock changes its tune. It begins a soft lullaby, a quiet signal for melatonin to rise, not a sedative, but a gentle nudge toward rest, toward dreaming. This rhythm continues, day after day, even if you fly across oceans or bury yourself in caves. Your clock tries to keep its time, not by counting seconds, but by sensing light. Light is your anchor. It resets your rhythm, and without it, your timing begins to drift. Astronauts, deep-sea divers, shift workers, they feel the tug of this drift. Their bodies fall out of sync, as if their cells are singing different songs, because it's not just one clock, it's many. Each organ in your body keeps its own time, but they also hum their own quiet rhythm. And when all the clocks are in harmony, you feel well. You wake rested, you digest smoothly, you think clearly. But when they fall out of sync, you feel it too, as fog, as fatigue, even as your plane lands in today. It takes days for your cells to catch up. Sleep returns in pieces. Appetite forgets when to arrive. You feel like you're floating slightly behind the world, but your body is adaptable, a patient student of the sun. Given time, it relearns. It listens to light, to meals, to movement, and soon the rhythm returns. You remember how to sleep, how to eat, how to dream again. But biological time isn't only about days. There is a deeper, slower clock ticking through you, a clock that measures not hours, but years. Aging. Each of your cells contains a string of time at the end of its DNA, called a telomere. Imagine a shoelace with little plastic caps at the tips to keep it from fraying. Telomeres are like that, gentle protectors, keeping your chromosomes from unraveling. But every time a cell divides, the telomeres get shorter, not because anything is broken, but because that's how the system works. Every copy trims the end a little, and eventually the telomeres grow too short, and the cell can no longer divide. This isn't tragic, it's part of the design. Old cells step aside for new ones, and your body finds balance between growth and stillness. But these shortening telomeres, they're one reason you age, one reason your skin softens, your hair turns silver, your bones take their time rising in the morning. And yet, some cells, like stem cells or cancer cells, can bypass this limit. They carry an enzyme called telomerase that rebuilds the ends, allowing endless division, immortality in a sense. But even here, time finds a way. Endless replication comes with its own dangers, and so your body keeps a watchful eye. Still, you may wonder, Can we slow the ticking? Can we stay young longer? There are whispers of answers. Sleep, movement, less stress. They seem to protect telomeres. Kindness, even. Some studies suggest that connection, purpose, and love may soften the passage of years, not by stopping the clock, but by changing how it feels. And beyond telomeres, your cells carry countless other rhythms. Ultradian rhythms, shorter than a day, govern your attention, your heartbeats, your hunger. You are an orchestra of overlapping tempos, each one shaped by evolution, by biology, by memory. Even your gut, home to trillions of bacteria, has its own sense of time. These tiny organisms rise and fall in number, depending on when you eat, when you sleep, what you feel. They influence your mood, your thoughts. Deeper still, your memories form with timing too. There is a region called the hippocampus that holds the layout of your inner world, not just where things are, but when they happened. Without it, you'd remember things as if they all happened at once. Time would flatten like a song with no melody. But with it, your memories dance along the arc of a life. And so, time is not just a number. It is feeling, rhythm, breath, pulse, and pause. It is the rise and fall of hormones, the gentle unwinding of DNA. The synchronized ticking of systems evolved to hold you gently in the flow of life. Tonight, as you lie still, you begin to hear them, not with your ears, but with your awareness. Tiny rhythms within rhythms, soft lullabies of cellular time. Your body is not separate from time. It is time. It knows how to sleep, how to rise, how to become. And somewhere beneath your thoughts, you begin to wonder if your body carries the past and present. Might it also hold the future? Close your eyes. You feel it moving time, like a soft breeze, brushing past your skin. Moments seem to trickle in, one after another, like drops from a leaky faucet. First this, then that. You wake, you breathe, you sleep, but now, in this stillness, you pause to ask, is time really moving, or are you the one who moves? You sit quietly within your body. The world turns outside the window. Clouds drift, leaves shiver, and beneath it all, you sense the current of something steady, invisible, constant. We call it time. But what if it's an illusion? This chapter is not about answers. It is a gentle walk through deep questions, as if wandering a dreamscape of mirrors where the reflections seem to move. This very instant of reading are not scattered like fallen petals, but arranged like beads on a thread, each one fixed in place. This is the idea of block time. According to some physicists, the past, the present, and the future all exist at once, already there, already complete, like a book, already written. You're simply reading it one page at a time. In this view, time does not flow. There is no river. There is only a landscape, and your mind is the traveler, moving through it. You are the one turning the pages, while the story itself remains. This might feel unsettling. You've always known change. You've felt it in your bones, watched it in the seasons, carried it in the lines on your skin. But even change, according to block time, is not something that happens. It is something that is a difference between one slice of the universe and another. Like still frames in a film reel, each one complete, each one part of the whole dot. So why do you feel time flow? The answer may lie within your mind, in consciousness, in memory, in attention. Your brain strings moments together, like pearls on a necklace. It stitches now to what just was and what's about to be. It creates a sense of continuity, a gentle unfolding. Without memory, you wouldn't feel the past. Without attention, there would be no now. And if you could step outside all of this, if you could stand beyond time and look down upon it, what would you see? Perhaps you'd see your whole life laid out like a photograph album, already there, already whole. Each breath preserved in a cosmic stillness, each heartbeat frozen in its place. This idea finds echoes in physics, particularly in Einstein's theories. In the world of relativity, time is not separate from space. Together, they form a fabric, space-time. And just like space, time has dimensions. You can move through them, but not all directions are equal. You can walk forward or backward in space. In time, you seem trapped. Always forward, always now. Why? Some scientists believe this asymmetry comes not from time itself, but from entropy, the measure of disorder. In the beginning, the universe was tidy, simple, ordered, and ever since, it has become more chaotic, more scattered, more complex. You remember the past because it was simpler. You forget the future because it hasn't unraveled yet. But the laws of physics, those that govern atoms and stars, don't actually require time to flow. It is not the universe that flows, but consciousness sliding across a frozen canvas, illuminating one frame at a time and calling that light now. You are the glow moving across the stillness. You are the flicker bringing time to life. Or maybe there is no flow, no sequence between things, no ticking clock, just configurations, patterns, like a sculpture or a symphony frozen in marble. In this model, change is an illusion born from comparison, like seeing two pictures and imagining movement between them. But the movement isn't there. Only the pictures are. Still, illusions can be powerful. They guide your choices. They shape your memories. They give rise to meaning. And perhaps that's the point. Maybe time feels real because it matters to you. Because you are not just matter. You are meaning. You live in a body that grows, in a world that spins, in a universe where stars are born and die. You live in story, not just in physics, and stories have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So perhaps time is not a trick, but a tapestry woven by perception, touched by mystery. And in this mystery, you are both still and moving, both fixed and flowing, like a melody remembered, not changing, but lived as if it were. Even your dreams hint at this. In dreams, time bends. A moment can feel eternal. An hour can pass in seconds, and yet the dream feels real. More real, sometimes, than waking life. Could it be that waking life, too, is a kind of dream? One where time plays the role of rhythm. One where the illusion is the very thing that lets you feel alive. You do not need to choose an answer tonight. You are allowed to rest inside the question. Let the paradox wrap around you like a soft blanket. Let the ideas swirl gently like snow in a globe, quiet, suspended, each flake falling through time, or seeming to. And as you drift into sleep, you may find yourself wondering, if the future already exists, can you ever truly change it? Or is choice part of the illusion too? There is a hush at the edge of everything, a pause, a breath. You rest in it now, wrapped in quiet, like dusk settling on an open field. Tonight, You travel to where time itself trembles, not in panic, but in stillness. This is the end of the road, not of your journey, but of time's. And perhaps, like all endings, it's only the soft beginning of something new. So come, let's go together, not forward, not backward, just out, to the farthest places thought can touch. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. The stars have stories to tell. Time, as you know it, may have had a beginning. Not just your time, the ticking of your life, but all of time. Cosmic time. Before there was light, before there were stars, before atoms even dared to form, there was something else. Or perhaps nothing at all. Then, in a flash, beyond flashes, a moment without before, the universe erupted into being. This is what scientists call the Big Bang. But it wasn't an explosion in space. It was an explosion of space. A sudden, unstoppable swelling of the fabric of everything. Time was born in that moment. It didn't happen within time. It was the first happening, the beginning of beginnings. From there, the universe grew. It cooled. It formed particles, clouds, galaxies, stars. It unfolded like a dream, stretching into chapters. But if time had a beginning, could it also have an end? To wonder this is to float above the deepest questions. Questions that scientists and poets both cradle like FIRELIGHT. If time ends, what does that mean? Do things stop, or do they fade? Does the clock halt, or does it stretch so slowly that motion vanishes into meaninglessness? Many cosmologists offer a vision, not a violent stop, but a slow dissolve, a universe drifting into stillness. This is the theory of the heat death. Over unimaginable eons, stars burn their fuel. Black holes swallow and fade. Matter spreads out, thin and quiet. Temperature evens, energy smooths. No gradients, no motion. No clocks can tick because nothing can change. Entropy, that old companion from earlier chapters, reaches its peak. Maximum disorder, maximum calm. In this future, the universe becomes cold and quiet. Not a bang, not a crash, but a gentle slipping away, like breath fading into silence. But not all theories drift to that quiet shore. Some imagine a universe that rebounds, a big bounce, where time runs in cycles. A collapse, then another birth. As if the cosmos breathes, inhaling and exhaling epochs. Or, perhaps, there is a multiverse, countless bubbles of reality, each with their own beginning, each spinning their own rhythm of time. Maybe time ends here, but begins again there. Like crossing from one dream into the next, there are even stranger ideas. Theories that say time is not fundamental at all, just an emergent illusion, like temperature from dancing particles, or waves from water. In that view, at the edge of time, there's no end, because there was no start, just a shift in patterns, a rearranging of relations. It is hard to grasp, but then again, endings always are. And what about you? You, with your warm body, your curious mind, what becomes of time for you? You measure your life in breaths, in birthdays, in soft passages of memory and meaning. You live in time as a fish lives in water. But perhaps, just perhaps, what matters most isn't how time ends, but how it feels while it's still here. And even if the universe does wind down, even if every particle finds stillness, and every star forgets to shine, the story of it all still exists, like a book on a shelf, complete, beautiful, quiet, because in some views, the universe is a block, a whole structure, not a movie in motion, but a sculpture of eternity. You aren't just in time. You are time, folded into form. And just as music ends not with a wall, but with a final note, so too might time finish not with a fall, but with a pause so full of stillness it begins to sound like something else. Can you imagine being there? Not in the cold, not in fear, but in peace, a universe at rest, no struggle, no rush, no ticking to measure what comes next. Maybe in that stillness, a new kind of awareness arises, not time-bound, but timeless, not counting moments, but holding the whole. And from that quiet, a question whispers, if time ends, what begins? What lives outside time? Perhaps consciousness, perhaps the laws of physics dissolve into something else, a truth too soft to measure, too whole to divide. And you, drifting now in sleep, you are not afraid. You rest at the edge of knowing, where science meets wonder, where the clock slows down and the stars go quiet. Maybe this is not the end, but just the end of this chapter of time. A lull between breaths, a silence between heartbeats, a place not where the story ends, but where you close the book, only to wonder what was there before the first page, and what might wait beyond the last. You lie quietly, your body still, but inside, time moves in strange ways, not the steady tick of clocks, not the orbital rhythm of stars, but something softer, wilder, a kind of time that bends, stutters, leaps, not in the sky, but in the soul. You already know this time. You've lived it, the moment. When someone says your name with love, and a second stretches like honey, or when grief visits, and a single minute lasts longer than a season. This is emotional time, measured not by physics, but by feeling. Tonight, you slip gently into its flow. You start with joy. Do you remember that feeling of being completely present when laughter folds the hours into paper cranes and flings them into the air? In joy, time flies, not because clocks change, but because attention narrows. Joy compresses. You focus on the now, not what came before, not what's ahead. Your brain stops tracking moments because the moment becomes everything. Neuroscience calls it temporal binding. The brain threads together experience so tightly you lose the space between. The result is timelessness, or at least time that forgets to be measured. In love, it's the same. A gaze held just a heartbeat too long, a conversation that feels like minutes but somehow swallows the moonrise. You don't count seconds in love. You live inside them. But not all feelings shrink time. Grief does the opposite. When you lose someone or something dear, time swells, it slows, it thickens. Each hour is heavy, each moment a stone in the chest. In studies of bereavement, people often describe time as frozen. Days stretch endlessly, yet seem to pass in a blur. You check the clock often, but it never feels real. Why? Because grief pulls attention inward. Your body still exists in the world, but your mind is somewhere else, looping memory, replaying moments that can't be retrieved. Cognitive scientists say that emotional intensity increases temporal granularity, meaning the more you feel, the more detail your brain captures. And when there's more detail, time feels longer. So even as the clock ticks steadily, your inner clock ticks differently. You feel every second, and yet you are lost in them. Then there is boredom, its own kind of distortion. Remember childhood afternoons where the minutes were long and the sun never moved. Boredom stretches time because the brain is desperate for novelty. It searches for something to do, and in the absence of stimulation, it tracks time too closely. The seconds become visible. Louder dot with no story to follow. Your awareness focuses on time itself, and it slows. But the paradox is this. Afterward, when you look back, boredom collapses. You remember very little. It's as if it never happened. Contrast that with awe. Stand before a vast mountain, a cathedral of stars, and time halts, but in reverence. Your mind stretches to hold more than it's used to holding, and the moment expands. Later, you remember it in detail, because all writes deeply on the parchment of your memory. So what is time, really, if feelings shape it so profoundly? The outer world keeps two atomic clocks. They hum in perfect rhythm, vibrating with astonishing precision. But inside you, in your brain, your heart, your very perception, time is something else. It's elastic. It listens to emotion. Think of your brain like a theater. Time is the stage manager, usually quiet, behind the curtain, guiding the pace. But when emotions rise, whether through ecstasy or sorrow, the curtain lifts, and you see time, raw and strange, stepping out into the spotlight. It reminds you that duration isn't always duration. Sometimes a second holds a lifetime. Other times, years pass and feel like dust in the wind. Even dreams play with time. You close your eyes, sleep folds around you, and in one REM cycle, just a few minutes long, you might live entire days, fall in love, run from storms, remember things that never were. Why? Because the dreaming brain doesn't need real time. It needs only felt time. And sometimes that's the deeper truth. You are made of feelings, and feelings make time. So what do you do with this knowledge? You learn to listen, to recognize when time feels slow, and ask, why? To honor the way grief distorts your hours without needing to fix it, to appreciate joy's brevity without clinging to it, and perhaps most gently, to accept that no two people experience time in quite the same way. You can stand beside someone you love, watch the same sunset, and live through different lengths of now. It's not a failure. It's the nature of minds. Each of us moves through a unique, invisible river, and sometimes those rivers converge. There is one more layer, not just how time feels, but how time is remembered. You see, we don't store time like a clock. We store it like a story. Moments dense with meaning take up more space. A year filled with newness feels longer than a decade of repetition. This is why childhood feels expansive, so many firsts, so many emotional landmarks, and why adulthood can feel like it rushes past. Your memory isn't biased toward duration. It's biased toward change. The more emotional the moment, the longer it lingers. So if you wish to stretch time, not just while it happens, but in the way you recall it, you don't need more hours. You need more presence, more feeling, more noticing. Even now, even here, so you lie there, soft beneath blankets, breathing, and you realize you are not just moving through time. Time is moving through you. It lives in the spaces between emotions. It stretches in wonder, contracts in boredom, freezes in grief, soars in joy, and that's okay. There's no wrong way to feel time pass. You simply feel what you feel, and in doing so, you shape the universe inside you. But now, as you drift from this chapter of feeling, another question unfolds gently, like morning light across a quiet floor. If emotion sculpts time, then what is memory? And why do some moments stay while others disappear like mist? You lie quietly again, eyes closed, breathing slow. There's no clock in your hand, but something inside you keeps time. Not the time you read on watches, but a deeper rhythm, a pulse beneath perception, a knowing without knowing. Your mind counts moments, even when you aren't listening. This is the chapter of time that lives beneath thought. Imagine this: you're about to catch a ball. It flies toward you fast. Your hand lifts before you decide. Muscles twitch, eyes adjust. You react in less than a blink dot. But how? You didn't calculate. You didn't plan. You simply moved, and it felt right. That's because your brain can predict time deep inside. Your nervous system carries a clock, not ticking, but flowing. It doesn't track hours. It tracks what happens next. This is called temporal prediction, the quiet skill of expecting the future before it arrives. You hear it in music. A melody builds. You feel the rhythm. Even if the sound stops, your body sways with the beat. Your brain fills in the silence. It anticipates not just when the note will come, but how it will feel. We are all natural drummers, even in stillness. Even babies, only days old, can sense a beat. They look longer at patterns that break rhythm, as if something deep inside them knows what should have happened. Time is a language, and we are born with its grammar, and not just in music. Think about speech. When someone speaks to you, you don't wait to hear the whole sentence before you start understanding. Your brain guesses. It fills in syllables. It dances ahead of the words. Even before a thought is complete, you are already preparing your reply. This is subconscious timing, not deliberate, not slow. It's like the tide, constant, quiet, shaping the shores of your awareness. You feel it when you walk. Your steps fall in rhythm, even on uneven ground. Your eyes scan ahead. Your feet adjust automatically. This isn't conscious. You're not doing math. But inside you, there's a pulse that guides movement, coordinates breath and stride, keeps you from falling. Timing isn't always a thing you do. Often, it's simply what you are. Now consider dreams. Time behaves strangely there, yet still. It flows. You can dream an entire story in just a few seconds of real time. And yet, within that dream, your sense of sequence remains. Something happens before something else. There's a beginning, a middle, an end. How does the sleeping mind build a timeline without clocks? The answer is in patterns. The brain loves them. It thrives on prediction, even while unconscious. In dreams, your mind rehearses time, not seconds, not minutes, but order, meaning, anticipation. Sleep researchers call this temporal scaffolding, the brain's invisible framework that supports a sense of flow, even when disconnected from reality. And deep inside your brain, there are timekeepers you've never heard ticking, tiny neural structures. The cerebellum, the basal ganglia act like internal metronomes. They help you speak smoothly, coordinate movement, feel rhythm, even understand a joke's timing. They don't use numbers. They use expectation. In this way, time isn't something you count. It's something you expect to arrive, like a friend walking over a hill. You don't know the exact second, but you sense when they're near. Sometimes you notice this, like when you're waiting for someone to respond. They pause just a moment, long, and you feel the silence stretch. The timing isn't wrong, just unexpected. And your brain lights up in surprise. You don't think it, you know it. Somewhere beneath words, this is preconscious time. A layer of mind that responds before you think. It's the goosebump before the thunder. The turn of your head before the sound. It's the feeling that something's about to happen, and then it does. But what happens when this rhythm is disrupted? People with certain neurological conditions, like Parkinson's, schizophrenia, or temporal lobe epilepsy, sometimes lose their internal sense of timing. They struggle with coordination, with speech, with understanding sequences. It's as if the inner conductor loses the beat. Their experience reminds us this inner time is not separate from us. It is us. It's part of how we think, move, remember, and feel the world. Even meditation is shaped by inner time. When you close your eyes and focus on breath, you become more aware of subtle rhythms. The inhale, the pause, the exhale, the space between thoughts. Over time, meditators report a strange thing. Time feels slower, not in boredom, but in clarity. Their internal clock becomes more visible, not louder, just clearer. And with that clarity comes calm. So tonight, as your body rests and your mind floats in quiet curiosity, you remember, time isn't just outside you. It isn't only in the sky or in the ticking hands of a clock. It's in the breath between thoughts, the pause before a word, the rhythm of your dreaming brain. You are not separate from time. You embody it. You carry it quietly beneath conscious moment. You are a vessel of tempo, a soft clock made of thought, a gentle rhythm made of cells. And in this softness, you wonder, if time lives in your muscles, in your dreams, in your breath, then where exactly does memory begin? Close your eyes. Imagine shrinking slowly, gently, smaller than cells, smaller than molecules, smaller than the atoms that make up everything you've ever touched. Keep going. Past protons, past neutrons. Now you're floating in a space so small, it's not even a space in the way you know it. You're in the quantum realm, the whispering underside of reality. Here, the rules are not what you're used to. Here, time does not tick, it trembles. You wait, though there is no waiting. There is no then, no next. In this realm, a particle can be in two places at once, or nowhere at all. It can vanish, then appear again, as if it never left. Things don't follow a path. They shimmer in possibility. This is the world of quantum mechanics, and time, here, is not a river. It is a question. Imagine you are watching a single particle, a photon, a flicker of light. You set up a gentle experiment. A beam passes through to slits, and you expect to see a pattern. But when you look closely, intentionally, something changes. When you're watching, the particle chooses a path. But when you're not, it behaves like a wave. It travels everywhere. Then, suddenly, only one place. Observation collapses possibility. And with it, perhaps, collapses time. What happened first? What happened at all? In this realm, even causality flickers. At this level, time doesn't seem like a constant beat. It feels more like a probability cloud. Some theories suggest the universe doesn't have an arrow of time at the quantum scale. There's no past flowing into present. There's just a collection of events, all possible, all uncertain, until something, someone, observes. And in that observation, a choice is made, reality settles. And so, perhaps, does time. Now picture this: two particles, born together, entangled like twins, even if you separate them by galaxies. What happens to one still instantly affects the other. No signal is sent. No light is exchanged. And yet the connection holds. It's called quantum entanglement. And it stretches our sense of time and space to the edge of understanding. If something here changes something there instantly, then what, exactly, does before mean? In this whispering world, superposition reigns. An atom can spin clockwise, counterclockwise, or both, until it's measured. Before you observe, it lives in all states. Not because it's hiding, but because is and is not don't mean the same thing here, and time, too, may be in superposition, not marching forward, but holding its breath in all directions. There are scientists who believe that time might not be fundamental. They suggest it could emerge from something deeper, like warmth from fire, or wetness from water. One such idea comes from Carlo Rovelli, who proposed that time is not a universal flow, but a relationship, a comparison between changes. You don't need a clock in the quantum world. You just need something to change in relation to something else. In this way, time is not a backdrop. It's a conversation. Think again of memory, of how you know time has passed. You remember what was. You notice what is. You expect what might be. But at the quantum level, memory doesn't exist. Particles don't carry stories. They don't know where they were before. There is no memory. There is only now, and now, and now. Some theories of quantum gravity go further still. They suggest that space and time might be made of something else, woven together in a kind of fabric that unravels at small scales in loop quantum gravity. Space itself is granular, like pixels in a screen. If space is made of tiny loops, then time may come from how those loops shift. Not a smooth line, but a trembling lattice. Not flow, but flicker. Physicist Julian Barber offers another idea, that time is an illusion. He imagines the universe as a vast collection of moments, each one a complete configuration, like snapshots in an endless album. None before, none before, none. After all, simply existing. He calls them nows. You, in this theory, are a traveler through nows, not because time moves, but because your consciousness does. You are the arrow. You are the sequence. You might wonder, what then causes time to feel so solid, so steady? Perhaps it is because we are large. We live in the world of heat and friction and memory. In the world of thermodynamics, time has direction, because energy spreads, because disorder grows, because we age and break and breathe. But the quantum realm doesn't age. It shimmers. It dances. Its clock is not one hand ticking forward. It's 1,000 ghostly possibilities, spinning quietly in the dark. And yet, from all this uncertainty, our world emerges. All that we build, thought, form, life, rises from particles that do not know time. From the silence beneath measurement comes the sound of footsteps, the ticking of clocks, the beating of hearts. It's as if reality is whispered, up from a quantum breath. So tonight, as your thoughts begin to drift and the weight of the day dissolves, you let yourself float into the space beneath certainty. You picture time not as a road, but as a fog, and within that fog, tiny lights blink. They do not ask where they've been. They do not rush toward where they're going. They just shimmer, and that shimmering becomes everything. You may never see the instant a particle decides. You may never hold the moment time begins, but you feel it, don't you? The way a question can hold more than an answer. The way your breath knows when to pause before the next begins, and maybe beneath all the layers of seconds and hours and years, there is a stillness, a place where time does not move, but simply waits to be imagined. And from that stillness, something stirs. Not a particle, but a memory. Where does it come from? And how does remembering change what is? Perhaps time doesn't just move forward. Perhaps it moves inward. And perhaps, in the next chapter, you'll walk quietly into the mystery of memory itself. Lie down. Let your body become still. Close your eyes and imagine time not in seconds or days, but in vast oceans of years, not ticking, but unfolding. Breathe in slowly. Feel how long it took to make you. Not years, not centuries, but billions of rotations around the sun. You are part of a story, ancient, winding, full of silences and storms, and that story is called evolution. It begins in water, a quiet sea under a younger sun. No eyes to see it, no minds to wonder, just warmth, a chemical soup stirred by lightning and chance, and then a spark, a fold, a loop, a molecule that could copy itself, not perfectly, but well enough. This, they say, was the beginning, the birth of replication, the first thread in the fabric of life. From these humble beginnings, time moves not quickly, not loudly, but with an ancient patience. Some molecules float apart, some stay, some protect themselves with soft walls, membranes, some harness the light. These become cells. Cells become communities. You may imagine them drifting like stars, swapping parts, learning new tricks. Some find ways to use oxygen, some build factories inside themselves. They become more complex. They become eukaryotes, your ancient ancestors. Evolution is not a race. It is not a ladder. It is a branching tree, forever, splitting, reaching, letting go. It moves through trial and error, through survival and surprise. Each small mutation is a whisper, a guess in the dark. Most guesses vanish. Some persist, and over millions of years, those whispers become wings. They become eyes. They become nervous systems. They become songs in throats. Now you stand on land. A continent has risen beneath your feet. The sea has given birth to forests. Fish have grown legs, and somewhere, quiet and unnoticed, a creature begins to think. Thought is not born all at once. It evolves, from sensing light to remembering pain, from feeling hunger to learning fear, from mimicking sound to shaping it into language. And suddenly, thought becomes culture, tools, art, fire. Time now moves with a different rhythm, still slow, but gathering momentum. Think of your hand. It holds a pencil, a spoon, a phone. It once held a stone. The shape of your thumb came from ancestors who climbed trees, gripped branches, cracked nuts. Think of your spine. Its gentle curves speak of walking, upright, balancing against gravity. Think of your skin. It sweats, a gift from long-distance runners on open savannas. Your body is a museum of adaptations. Every scar, every organ, every breath is a record of survival. You are not separate from the past. You are shaped by it, even your mind. This quiet space you rest in now has been molded by time, the fear of the dark, the joy of a familiar face, the rhythm of your heartbeat when you're in love, all ancient signals, all whispers from brains that came before you. Your emotions are not random. They are tuned by history, grief, attachment, curiosity. These are not flaws. They are features, strategies, answers to questions the body never stopped asking. Evolution is not only the past, it is the present, still unfolding, even now. Your genes drift and dance. Small mutations appear. Most change nothing. Some help, some hurt, and your environment responds. Climate, food, culture, technology, all of it presses gently on the clay of life, molding, shaping, waiting. You are a snapshot of that molding, a single frame in a film so long it barely seems to move. But look closer. It does move. In microbes, learning to resist medicine. In animals, adapting to cities. In plants, blooming at new times. The clock of evolution still ticks, quiet, patient, alive, and perhaps, somewhere deep inside, you can feel it. The long rhythm of becoming the slow breath of your ancestors, not remembered in thought, but in the body, in the blood, in the bones. Tonight, as you lie still, know that stillness is part of the story too. There were eons of silence, bare the first heartbeat, and yet, here you are, beating, breathing, becoming. You do not need to rush. Nothing in nature hurries, and yet everything is completed. Time has shaped UA's water shapes, stone, gently, relentlessly, with care. So listen, just for a moment, to that older rhythm, the one that hums beneath words, the one that lives in tides and chromosomes. You are its latest chapter. You are its breath in the dark. And as your mind begins to drift, as the body softens into sleep, you might wonder if time made you over so many ages, what might it be making next? And what does time become when we begin to change it? Close your eyes. Beneath the hush of breath and blanket, beneath the hum of city lights or the rustle of wind through trees, beneath you, deep within the skin of the earth's story, sleep, not in words or pages, but in layers of rock, in the slow curl of a fossilized shell, in the delicate frost of an ancient glacier's trapped air. You lie still, but the planet turns under you, and it remembers everything. The earth is a quiet archivist. Every grain of sand, every folded cliff, every mineral vein is a page in a story that began before there were eyes to read it. You may live in minutes and hours, days and years, but the earth counts in ages. Try to imagine this: a second stretched into 1,000 lifetimes, an hour that lasts an epoch, a moment frozen in stone. Beneath the soles of your feet lies the crust, a brittle skin, fractured and floating atop molten rock. This crust is layered, stacked, like forgotten books, each stratum a whisper of what once was. In one layer, you might find the remains of forests that thrived when the continents were joined. In another, the ghostly trace of a creature long extinct, curled in a bed of mud turned to slate. To geologists, these layers are clocks. Clocks without ticking hands, but with colors, textures, densities. They call it deep time, a rhythm. So slow, it is almost still, but it's there, moving, changing. Beneath cities and fields, mountains and oceans, the record keeps writing itself. You are a small part of this story, and yet you belong to it. The earth has its own kinds of memory. In glaciers, air from millennia ago is trapped in tiny bubbles. Scientists bore deep into the ice of Antarctica and Greenland, pulling out slender cyst cores that shimmer like frozen scrolls. Inside these transparent columns is a diary of breath, carbon, oxygen, pollen, ash. With each sample, they read winters long vanished. They know when volcanoes darkened the skies, when forests died, when humans began to burn coal and change the air. The ice remembers us, but long before people, before mammals, or even fish, time moved differently. Continents drifted like slow ships across molten seas. Mountains rose and crumbled, rose again. Oceans spilled and receded. The moon once hovered closer. Days were shorter, tides stronger. Dinosaurs walked beneath a sky with 20-hour days. Coral, growing in ancient seas, holds the secret in its growth, rings teeny daily pulses, frozen in calcium. A biological calendar kept by creatures that never knew what they were counting. You listen now, through your imagination, to the pulse of a world that does not hurry. A world that breathes in glaciers, shifts in tectonic plates, and turns on cycles too vast to witness. Even the orbit of Earth is a kind of timepiece, its wobble called. Precession traces a slow circle every 26,000 years. This changes the stars we see, nudges the rhythm of ice ages. Tilt and distance from the sun vary too, in quiet patterns called Milankovitch cycles. These cosmic rhythms sculpt climate, guide evolution, and write chapters of warm and cold into the planet's crust. And so, time is not only written in rock, but carved by gravity, geometry, and light. You might wonder how we know all this. After all, we were not there when the Himalayas first rose, or when the seas swallowed deserts. But the clues are patient. A fossil here, a magnetic stripe in ocean crust there. Even atoms can tell time. Radioactive isotopes decay at steady rates, and geologists read their ratios like hourglasses. Potassium becomes argon. Uranium becomes lead. A rock becomes a sentence, then a story, then a timeline. In this way, Earth becomes a library of silence. But the memory of Earth is not still. It's not only past. Time moves through it, reshaping everything, slowly but relentlessly. Rivers carve canyons grain by grain. Wind wears down stone. The tallest peaks erode into sand. Volcanoes birth islands that someday will be beaches. Mountains do not last forever. Neither do oceans, you realize, here in the dark, how temporary everything feels beside this slow choreography. Even the soil beneath your home is borrowed, formed by generations of lichen moss, the roots of ancient trees. A single inch of fertile earth might take hundreds of years to form and a decade to destroy. So much is fragile, yet so much endures. Earth's time is not your time, but you walk through it, breathe it, grow from it. Perhaps this is why standing in a canyon feels like standing in a cathedral. Why holding a smooth stone in your hand calms your thoughts. Why the sound of rain on leaves or wind on sand dunes quiets the mind. Somewhere in you, something recognizes the older rhythm, and just as rocks remember, so do the stars, meteors, fall messengers from the solar system's youth. Their metals tell of the furnace that forged them. Some contain grains older than the sun. Stardust carried across space lands quietly on rooftops and mountaintops every day. You may have brushed it from your windowsill and never known. In this sense, the earth is both archive and ash, history and hope, time layered and living. Even your body carries this inheritance. Calcium in your bones once swam in oceans. Iron in your blood once flared in the heart of a star. You are, quite literally, made of memory, and just like rock and ice, you are shaped by cycles: birth and aging, waking and sleep, remembering and forgetting. You, too, record time, not only with clocks, but with scars, with stories, with the quiet way you feel when you return to a childhood place and sense how much and how little has changed. Tonight, you listen not just to time, but to age itself. The long age, the earth's age, a time too slow for hurry, too deep for fear. There is comfort in this vastness. If the earth can change and continue, can break and mend and grow again, perhaps you can too. If the land can remember, maybe it can also forgive. Outside your window, the moonlight glows on stone. That rock might be 1,000,000,000 years old, yet it rests gently in the present. Time does not weigh it down. It simply is. And now, so are you. Let yourself be held by the gravity of this truth. You are not separate from Earth's memory. You are its newest layer, its latest page. And someday, long after, the sediment of your life might press into something lasting, and perhaps, beyond even rock and ocean, something else remembers, something quieter, something just beginning to wake. If the earth can remember, what then does the universe itself recall? Close your eyes. There's no ticking clock inside your mind, but you still feel time pass. There's no calendar behind your eyelids, yet you can visit yesterday, and not just yesterday, but years ago. A single moment, vivid as light, a scent, a voice, a sky. Time folds inside you, quietly, with perfect ease. Your mind is a map of moments, not just where you've been, but where you might go. And sometimes, where you wish you could return. This is one of the brain's strangest gifts, mental time travel, the ability to move backward into memory or forward into imagined futures. You, unlike a falling apple or a drifting cloud, can remember, anticipate, regret, hope. These are all forms of time, seen not with the eyes, but with the mind. You walk through time not by moving, but by imagining. Scientists call this episodic memory, the kind that remembers experiences, not just facts. You don't simply know what a birthday cake is. You remember your 7th one, the soft blue frosting, the laughter, the way the candles flickered just before the wish. That kind of memory isn't a file, it's a place, and when you visit it, your brain lights up as if you're there again. Even future thoughts borrow this pathway. When you imagine next week's meeting or next year's home, your brain reuses the same networks as memory. It draws on the past to sketch the future. You might say the future is built from the bricks of the past inside your skull. A loop of electricity forms pictures, feelings, voices, Neurons, tiny cells, pass signals like messages from one to another, and together they create what feels like a scene, a world, a moment. You are not just a passenger in time, you are a storyteller too. Imagination, scientists believe, is closely tied to survival. Being able to picture what might happen if I climb this tree, if I cross that river, helped early humans stay alive. That same power now lets you write novels, daydream, plan vacations. It's the same muscle, the same spark. When you picture your future, you're doing more than guessing. You're simulating. Your mind is a kind of quiet laboratory where scenarios unfold. Actions are rehearsed. Emotions are pre-felt. You don't need a time machine to test tomorrow. You do it with a thought dot, and that thought has weight. It influences your choices. It shapes your mood. If you imagine success, your body prepares for it. Muscles shift, heartbeat adjusts. You breathe a little deeper. If you imagine loss, you may feel it before it ever comes, or never comes at all. Time, inside the mind, is not just a sequence, it's a landscape. Some people see it spatially, years laid out like a spiral, or a row of months, each with a position in space. This phenomenon, called time-space synesthesia, shows how differently each brain organizes time. You might see decades in color, or picture your childhood to the left, your future just beyond your right shoulder. There is no wrong way. The brain is flexible. It shapes time as it shapes thought, fluid, vivid, deeply personal. This is also why time feels so elastic. A single hour in a waiting room can feel longer than an entire weekend with someone you love. A week of routine might vanish from memory, while one strange afternoon stays etched forever. Emotion, novelty, attention, these stretch and compress time in the mind's eye. And so, time becomes not just what the clock says, but what the heart remembers. This is the secret the mind holds. The more deeply you live a moment, the longer it stays. Presence, full attention, lengthens the sense of time, while distraction, repetition, monotony, these can make hours vanish like fog at sunrise. Even dreams obey a different tempo. In sleep, entire lifetimes can pass in a single REM cycle. You might live years, have conversations that never happened, solve problems that never existed, and still, your brain records them like echoes. Not real, but not nothing either. Time in dreams doesn't flow. It unfolds, and so does time in memory. The hippocampus, a seahorse-shaped structure deep in your brain, helps encode these inner journeys. It does not simply store data. It links experiences, creates context. It is the reason you remember, not just the sunset, but who was with you. Not just the song, but how you felt when it played. This is how time, in the mind's eye, becomes layered, like Earth's memory. You carry eons in your own way, your childhood, the stories your grandparents told, even imagined futures you'll never live. They all shape you. They are all part of your inner timeline. Sometimes this mental time travel can be heavy. Regret pulls you back. Anxiety pushes you forward. Grief loops you between what was and what will never be again. But even these are signs of a mind awake, a consciousness aware of time's shape. And with awareness comes gentleness. You learn to visit the past without living in it, to glimpse the future without fearing it, to be here now while knowing other times are always within reach. This awareness is uniquely human. Other animals remember, predict, respond, but few, if any, imagine their birthdays or picture their future selves. You do, and it means you can also imagine healing, peace, possibility, a future that feels soft around the edges, shaped by the lessons of the past but not defined by them. A tomorrow you can walk toward, one thought at a time. Your mind is not bound to the clock. It swims through time like water. It touches what was. It tastes what might be. And it always returns, gently, to the present, right here, where your breath moves, where the bed cradles your body, where time, for a moment, feels still, not gone, not stopped, just resting. And you, too, can rest in the knowledge that within you lives the entire span of your life, past, future, and this fleeting moment in between. Let it be quiet now. Let the images fade or float. You do not have to chase them. They will return when needed. They always do. And as the lights of thought dim softly, a new question stirs, just on the edge of dreaming. If your mind can shape time, then how does time shape the mind? Night arrives slowly, not just on the horizon, but inside you. A deepening stillness, like ink dropped into water. The rhythm of the day begins to quiet, the voice of the world receding into whispers. You feel it in your breath, slower now, in your thoughts, loosening like threads. And somewhere beneath all this time begins to change. You lie down. The weight of your body is gentle but firm. The earth holds you without hurry. There is no race here, no tasks, just the promise of drifting. Sleep, you've learned, is not an absence. It is a presence of something else, something older than memory, something that does not obey the clocks. You close your eyes, and in this first gesture, you step into a quieter time. Your brain, however, is not asleep yet. Inside your skull, activity flickers like stars behind clouds. Sleep comes in waves, not a switch, but a tide. And with each wave, the world you know begins to unfasten. You begin with light sleep, stage 1, a kind of doorway where the waking mind lets go. You may feel your body twitch as if startled. This is your brain loosening its grip on gravity, testing the waters. Then comes stage 2. Your body cools, your heartbeat slows. Your brain starts crafting spindles, brief bursts of rhythmic energy, like lanterns glowing in the dark. No one knows exactly what these spindles do, but they seem to help protect sleep, to seal you in. Then, deeper still, stage 3. This is slow wave sleep, the basement of night. Here, the body repairs, cells whisper, muscles rest. Your brain, though slowed, is hard at work, sorting, cleaning, filing away the day's debris. But it's not until REM, rapid eye movement, that time truly begins to dissolve. REM is strange. Your body is paralyzed, but your mind is electric. Eyes dart beneath closed lids, tracking dreams as if they were real. Heart rate rises, breathing deepens, and your brain, it begins to tell stories, not like daytime stories, not bound by logic. Here, time folds and flexes. You can be a child again, or someone else entirely. You can live years in 10 minutes, or loop in a moment that never quite ends. Dreams are not random static. They are mosaics, bits of memory, emotion, fear, desire. Fragments stitched together by a mind trying to make sense of itself. neuroscientists believe role in emotional processing. Your brain reactivates the day's memories, then reshapes them. The result is surreal, a hallway made of water, a voice from someone long gone, a flight over cities that never existed. Time in dreams feels real until it doesn't. There are no clocks there, no sunrises or deadlines, only shifts. You wake sometimes and marvel, how long was I asleep? And the answer doesn't quite match the dream. In the dreaming hour, time is measured not in seconds, but in sensation. You might dream for 5 minutes and feel you've lived a lifetime, or sleep for an hour and recall nothing, only the soft echo of having been elsewhere. This is the secret of sleep. It bends time, not in the way physics does, but in the way music does, through rhythm, through silence, through feeling. Your nightly cycle repeats light, deep, REM, again and again. Each round takes about 90 minutes. Like the turning of a page in a book, your body reads without effort. Infants drift through REM like dancers, nearly half their sleep spent in dreams. As you age, REM shrinks, but it never disappears. Even the oldest minds still dream. Why? The science is still unfolding. Dreams may help with memory consolidation, or emotional balance, or perhaps something deeper, integration, a rehearsal for life, a space where you are both witness and creator. And though you rarely remember most of them, dreams leave traces, a feeling, a shift in your morning breath, a question you can't quite place. In sleep, your brain is both laboratory and canvas. It paints with old memories, tests new ideas. Sometimes it solves problems you couldn't solve awake. Many great thinkers have credited dreams for their discoveries. Einstein, Kekulo, Dali. Not because dreams are magic, but because they are free. Free of the rules that bind waking thoughts. Free of time as you know it. Sleep may be the only time you truly live outside the arrow of time. You do not age during a dream. You do not wait. You simply are. And in this, dreams echo something primal, a state closer to infancy, or even to something before birth. The fetus, floating in the womb, spends most of its time in REM, eyes closed, but brain alight. What does it dream of? Nothing, or everything. Dreams are not escape. They are return. Each night, when you surrender to sleep, you are not giving up the world. You are entering another one just as real, in its own silent way. And time, in this place, is a guest, not a master. When you wake, sometimes it lingers, a scene, a phrase, an impossible truth. You try to name it, but it slips. This, too, is part of dreaming. It cannot be held. Dreams dissolve on contact with daylight, like frost touched by the sun. But that doesn't mean they're gone. They shape you, quietly, just like time does. Even the dreams you forget, they stir the sediment. They soften the mind. They let you feel what cannot be spoken. You may think you are resting, but in truth, you are exploring. Sleep is not stillness. It is motion in disguise. It is the most human of mysteries, a portal we all pass through every night, and yet never fully understand. And maybe that's the point. Not everything must be measured. Not every clock must tick. Some truths are meant to be felt, not known. You turn now in your bed. The world is quiet. Time has softened, as it always does here. You are safe. You are drifting. And as your thoughts dissolve into dreams' deeper waters, you sense just faintly the presence of something older than time. A question, perhaps, a gentle breath beyond all clocks. If sleep can hold time without measuring it, then what does wakefulness forget? There are moments when time leaves the room. No announcement, no farewell. It just slips out the back door, and suddenly you are elsewhere. Not in the past, not quite in the future, but in a present so full, so rich, so quiet, it feels like forever pressed into now. This is the rhythm of creativity. You've felt it before, maybe while painting, writing, playing music, maybe while building something, solving something, dreaming something. There are no clocks here, only breath, attention, and motion. Psychologists call it flow, a state where effort meets ease. Your sense of self softens, your edges blur. There's no you doing the thing, only the thing being done, and you disappearing into it. Flow, minutes vanish. You might look up and realize an hour has passed, or that the sun has shifted and you didn't notice. Time stretches, then snaps. You are both inside it and outside it. Neurologically, this is no illusion. In moments of deep, creative focus, your brain changes its rhythm. The prefrontal cortex, the part that tracks time, that narrates self-quiets, not off, not asleep, just dimmed. This dimming is what allows the you to dissolve. It's what makes space for the making. Dopamine trickles through your brain like morning light. Not too much, just enough. It fuels curiosity, nudges risk, opens doors. And with it, new connections form, ideas linking across strange distances, insights emerging from silence. Creativity is not just expression, it's detection. It's listening to something faint, something underneath, and because it's quiet, time gets softer. There is no stopwatch that measures inspiration. It doesn't arrive on command. You cannot schedule wonder. But when it comes, it brings a strange gift, timelessness. You forget to eat. You forget to worry. You forget yourself. And in this forgetting, something new is born inside your brain. Creativity is not confined to one place. It travels, networks, the default mode, the executive, the sentience. These are not locations, but conversations. And when they speak well to each other, ideas rise like steam from still water. You don't need to be an artist to feel this. The act of invention, no matter the medium, carries the same pulse. It might be a spreadsheet that suddenly makes sense, a garden you shape with intuition, a sentence you write that feels true. To create is to live in a time outside time, not faster, not slower, just different. It's circular, not linear. You circle back, revise, repeat. You loop until it feels right. And that feeling of rightness is itself timeless. Consider a jazz musician improvising. They don't think, now it's time for the next note. They simply are the next note. Their brain predicts milliseconds ahead, but the experience feels like pure presence. Or think of a child lost in play, completely absorbed, not self-conscious. They aren't aware that they're creating. They're just being. That's the thing about creativity. It doesn't require awareness of time. It requires surrender to something larger. You cannot force it, but you can invite it by stepping into stillness, by letting silence gather. And when it arrives, you are weightless. Artists often speak of the muse, but perhaps the muse is just this shift in time, a doorway that opens not outward, but inward. Sometimes creativity is explosive. Sometimes it is quiet, unfolding over days, months, years. But the sensation, when it arrives, is the same. A knowing without explanation. A movement without plan. A clock that doesn't tick, but breathes, and yet it ends. You come back. You look at the thing you've made, and you marvel. When did I do this? You check the time. You're surprised, because the mind's clock, the creative clock, has no numbers. It runs on presence, and presence doesn't keep score. This is why making something can feel so nourishing, because for a while you weren't bound. You were timeless. But creativity is not always easy. It has rhythms, like sleep. There are dry days, blank pages, empty hands, and that's part of it, too. Sometimes the most fertile moments are invisible. Ideas gathering beneath awareness, connections forming in silence. You must trust that the clock is still ticking, even if you can't hear it. Even rest is creative. Even pause has momentum. Creativity lives in the spaces between thoughts, between breaths, between distractions. And so, if you wish to find it, you must make room. A little stillness, a little wonder, a little patience. Then, like a shadow at dusk, it appears. And when it does, you'll know it, not by sound, but by absence. The absence of worry, the absence of time, the absence of should. Only the deep, strange hum of something becoming. And when you emerge, you carry it with you, a phrase, a picture, a shape, an idea, but also a feeling of having touched something beyond minutes, of having danced with the invisible. Time returns. Of course, it always does. But for a while, you were elsewhere, and that elsewhere shaped you. So tonight, as you rest, let your mind wander gently. Let images rise without needing to explain. Let the ticking fade. Let the calendar wait. There is a clock inside you that counts, not hours, but openings, and it is always waiting for you to listen. There is a kind of stillness that feels final, a silence that is not absence, but a kind of return. You lie here, eyes closed, listening to the slow rhythms within you, and somewhere, in some other room of the world, a clock has just stopped. Maybe it was the last heartbeat in a chest. Maybe it was a final breath, soft as wind across a candle's flame. Maybe it was not a person, but a chapter, a season ending, a goodbye spoken, a part of life folding quietly in. This is the edge of time we do not often touch, the place where moments run out, and still something lingers. Tonight we drift gently toward that threshold, not to fear it, not to explain it away, but to feel its shape in the dark, to understand what science sees and what story still holds. You begin with a breath, always a breath. Life, as your cells know it, is a choreography of timing. Your heart beats in rhythmic precision. Your lungs rise and fall like tide. Neurons spark in carefully timed cascades. Even your sleep is measured in cycles. But life is not simply activity. It's the delicate balance between order and unraveling. Every system in your body resists entropy, the universal pull toward disorder, and eventually, inevitably, entropy wins. Biological death is not a moment, but a slow collapse of timing. One system falters, then another, then another. The heart stops, yes, but even then, cells continue their quiet work for a while. Tissues hold warmth. The brain flickers, not with thoughts, but with fading sparks of its last electric breath. This is called the death wave, a gentle surge of electrical activity sweeping across the brain like dusk. It lasts seconds, but its beauty lives in what it suggests, that even at the end there is a rhythm, a goodbye written in voltage. And yet time doesn't end here. In some animals, brain cells stay active minutes, even hours, after clinical death. In certain experiments, scientists have revived aspects of function, circulation, response in dead organs, blurring the line between cessation and continuation. So what is death, really? A halt in the clock, or a change in what the clock measures? You live in a body, yes, but you are also memory, and memory isn't stored in blood or breath. It's woven in the lives you've touched. It lives in stories told by those who stay behind, in laughter that echoes across birthdays you'll never attend, in gestures, recipes, habits, songs passed down like heirlooms stitched from time. This is legacy, a second kind of time. Your atoms don't stop when you do. They scatter to soil, to sky, to other beings. The iron in your blood might return to the earth, only to rise again inside a leaf, a bird, a child. You are not lost. You are rearranged, and even as your biological clock winds down, another begins. Because time also exists in minds. When someone you love dies, your brain keeps time with them long after they've gone. A scent triggers a memory. A dream brings their voice back. A certain afternoon light reminds you of their smile. This is called continuing bonds. It is not pathological. It is not delusional. It is human. Grief is not the severing of connection. It is the rewriting of presence. You build a new kind of relationship, one that stretches across time without requiring it. In this way, love is not erased. It is relocated. The mind does not easily let go of what it has loved. Neural pathways, built through years of affection, do not vanish with death. They soften, they shift, but they remain. And so, in your quiet moments, you may still feel someone beside you, not as a ghost, but as an echo in your circuitry, a remembered rhythm. This too is time, not linear, but looping, not objective, but deeply yours. Consider the rituals humans create: burials, memorials, anniversaries. These are clocks made of meaning. They remind us that while life ends, story continues. That time doesn't stop. It ripples across generations, across languages, across dreams. The ancient Egyptians believed the dead lived as long as their name was spoken. Modern neuroscience might say they live as long as neurons still fire. In their image, memory is a mirror. It reflects the past into the present, making time porous. And then there is a stranger kind of time, the time of near-death. People who have nearly died often describe a warped clock, time slowing, stretching, spilling open like light through glass dots. Sometimes they see their lives flash before them. Sometimes they feel peace, detachment, vastness. Some scientists suggest this is the brain's final symphony, a surge of neurotransmitters, an oxygen-starved cortex, a desperate attempt to make sense. Others wonder if it is something more, not proof of another realm, but a window into how deeply the brain tries to preserve meaning, even at the end. And what of those who die peacefully in sleep? Their final hour may pass in dream. The same REM rhythms, the same neural story weaving, until the story fades mid-sentence. Perhaps this too is grace. To exit through a doorway of dreams, to leave behind not an ending, but an ellipsis. And for those still living, this is the hardest truth. Time continues, without the one you love. The sun rises, the kettle boils, the clock ticks, and something feels missing from the air itself. But slowly, slowly, you learn to live in a new time. A time with absences, a time with memory folded into the hours, and it becomes clear. Time doesn't run out, it rearranges. Even endings hold echoes. The wave that crashes still leaves salt in the air. The candle, extinguished, still scents the room. The clocks you carry, biological, emotional, cosmic, do not always agree, but each tells a kind of truth. And when the final tick comes, yours, mine, all of ours, there will be silence. But even silence is a sound. Even nothing is a space. And someone, somewhere, will remember the way you laughed, or the warmth of your hand, or how your voice felt like home. That is a kind of forever. That is how time continues without continuing. That is why this moment matters. Not because it lasts, but because you are in it fully, now, and now, and now. And now, close your eyes. Let the world fall away, not with a crash, but like soft silk slipping from your shoulders. The weight of the day, the rhythm of tasks, even your thoughts, loosening, drifting. Now listen, not to a sound, but to a quiet beneath all sound. A hush so deep it almost hums. This is not sleep yet, not quite. This is a space just before, or maybe just after. A place where you aren't counting anything. Not minutes, not plans, not memories. A space without time. You have journeyed through many kinds of clocks. Atomic, biological, emotional, cosmic. Each one with a rhythm, a beat, a flow. Each one keeping track of something moving forward. But what if there is a kind of time that doesn't flow? What if the deepest layer of existence, beneath the ticking, beneath the aging, beneath even the dreaming, is timeless, not endless, not eternal, just still? In physics, there is a strange idea that time might not be fundamental, that at the very bottom of reality, the quantum fields, the strings, the foamy whispers of space itself, there is no clock. Equations that describe the smallest scales, like those in quantum gravity, sometimes leave time out entirely. They describe relationships, they describe possibility, but not a ticking present marching into future. This is called the problem of time, and it's not just poetic, it's mathematical, it's structural. General relativity gives us a flowing fabric, space and time inseparable. Quantum mechanics gives us probabilities frozen in a timeless frame. Put them together, and time, as we know it, starts to dissolve. In some theories, the universe doesn't evolve, it simply is. A whole reality, already complete, like a painting viewed from outside its frame. What you experience as time, as past and future and choice and change, may be the way your mind moves through this eternal stillness. Like a flashlight scanning across a photograph, lighting up one moment at a time. This sounds impossible, but when you dream, it doesn't feel so strange. In dreams, time loops, moments stretch. You meet people who are gone. You walk through houses that never existed. You are older and younger in the same breath. And still, something feels coherent, not because of time, but because of presence. In timelessness, everything may still be here, just not in order. Meditation touches this stillness, too. The deeper you go, the more you notice that time loses its grip. A minute can feel infinite, an hour can vanish like mist. You sit, you breathe, and the need to measure begins to soften. The part of your brain that keeps time, the same part that tracks rhythm, movement, and sequence, becomes quieter during deep meditation. It's as if your inner metronome slows and something wider begins to hold you. This is not escape. This is return. You are not trying to be timeless. You already are. Even at rest, your atoms vibrate. Your body carries particles older than the solar system. Your thoughts rise and fall from the same matter that once spun in stars, and none of it is in a hurry. Time, after all, is a measure of change, but not all change moves forward. Some change just is, like the color blue or the feeling of warmth. Some truths don't need clocks. There's a concept in physics known as block time. Imagine the universe not as a timeline, but as a whole loaf of time. The past is not gone. The future is not waiting. All moments are equally real, already existing, like slices of bread in the loaf. You experience them one by one, but they are all already there. The now is just the slice your consciousness currently touches. It's strange, but in some ways, it's comforting. Because if this is true, then nothing is ever truly lost. No moment is erased. No love is gone. It's all still part of the loaf. You just move through it, slowly, gently, in your own rhythm. And yet, even if time doesn't really flow, it still feels like it does. It feels that way because of how you remember, how you hope, how you imagine. Time is stitched into your perception. Your brain uses memory like a map. It uses prediction like a compass. So to be timeless, truly timeless, is not just to sit still. It's to let go of the map, to release the compass, to simply float. Can you feel that now? That spaciousness, that freedom. There is no need to think about tomorrow. There is no pressure to hold yesterday. There is only this moment, and not even that, just the space that holds it. This is the final stop in your journey, where clocks fall silent, where names fade, where even stories go still. But it is not a loss. It is a return, a homecoming in some philosophies. Timelessness is the true nature of the self. Not your body, not your history, not even your thoughts, but the awareness behind them. The watcher, the field, the quiet lake in which ripples rise. It has always been here. Before you were born, after you were gone. Always here, not waiting, not moving, just being. And in this stillness, there is no urgency, no striving, no end. You are not late. You are not early. You are exactly where you are. And where you are is enough. The stars still turn above you. The earth still spins. The seasons still breathe. But here, in this quiet, you are outside their pull. You are cradled in something larger than motion. You are resting in the pause between all beginnings and all endings. Not asleep, not awake, not counting, only being, only this, only now. And in this timeless hush, as everything fades gently beyond thought, you begin to feel something deeper still, not time, but something time has always moved through.